Good morning. This is the second and last video for the change guard. It's a pretty short play, but there are some good lessons to pull out of it, so let's go ahead and take a look. If you observe that your opponent is inclined to go up in the air, then slash up again forcefully before him, and as soon as you perceive that he goes up, then cut across from your right at his left arm while he is still pulling upward. As soon as it hits, at once strike opposite to it with the inside flat at his right ear in a very deep arc. And that is the whole play. So remember that in these change plays, Meyer has us facing off against someone who is in the extended guard. And so what he's telling us to do is from here, if we see they are inclined to go upward. So already there are two things we need to talk about. The extended guard is a great guard. It has a good center line control, good defense, good point threat. But as I've talked about in other videos, every position has things it's good at and things that it's bad at, pros and cons. And the major con of the extended guard is for any cutting motion, I need to have a chambering motion to be able to throw a good cut. So what he's telling us is that we are looking for our opponent to start to chamber to throw a cut, and that is going to provide us our opening. And when he says inclined to go up, essentially we have an opponent that's in this guard, but they are inclined to cut out of it. They're going to be maybe kind of a spazzy counterfighter. One of the things that I talk about a lot with people when we're working on sparring is figuring out what kind of a fight your opponent is bringing you. And in SEA combat, where I very often have my longsword against a sword and shield, because that's the most common weapon style in SEA heavy combat, I talk about using a thrust to provoke even just a little response to see what kind of a fight my opponent's trying to bring me. So if I have somebody in a sword and shield and I throw the thrust and I see them starting to lean forward, they're clearly looking to be aggressive and charge. If I see a sword and shield person lean back and maybe close up, they are maybe looking for a more guarded counter-punching kind of a fight. So it's important to get a sense of what type of fight your opponent is trying to bring you. In this case, we have an opponent in an extended guard, and maybe we moved around a little bit, we've done some provoking actions, and we are seeing that they are inclined to cut. So they're very likely going to throw kind of a spazzy countercut at us. So what Meyer tells us to do is to provoke that and then take advantage of it. So from our changing guard, if we have an opponent in this extended guard that is inclined to cut up, we're going to throw this rising cut again, and we're going to get them to move. And as soon as they move, we're going to turn this into an onside attack at their arm. So this person has risen up to cut, and we're looking to target this arm here. So that's the first part of the action, is upward slash, onside cut. From here, we're going to step off to the line a little bit, and we're actually going to throw an inside flat. So that's the finger side flat. So from an onside with the true edge, and offside with the inside flat, leading with the fingers. And again, if you're in a rule set where this is really not workable, you just lead with the knuckles and make sure you hit them on the edge. And so that's what we're doing. We're provoking, clearing, hitting the arm that they expose as they pull up to cut, and step off and hit with the inside flat, the finger side flat. So the mental shorthand is slash, cut, flat. So when I'm practicing this on the Pel, I will be in my changing guard, slash, cut, flat. And he says it's a big arc. So we really want to try to get this nice deep angle. The offline step helps with that, also keeps us safe. And again, this flat is going to whip around a potential parry and hit them anyway. So short play, but the fact that we are looking at the weakness in the opponent's extended guard where they have to chamber to be able to throw a cut. The fact that we're starting to play with some psychology where we're finding an opponent that is inclined to cut, so they're much more likely to throw maybe a spazzy counter rather than just back up and defend. And we're taking advantage of that by provoking the reaction with this rising cut. So like I said, it's a short play, but there's a lot of good stuff to pull out of here. The actions are good, but the tactical stuff that we're getting out of this play is frankly more important. But it is nice to look at keeping ourselves safe as we enter, because if we just ran in and tried to hit him, we're not being very safe. So this clearing action kind of keeps us safe as we start this whole sequence. So play with that. It's not a very complicated set of motions. It's a pretty short play. But when you're doing this, and as I always advise when you're doing your Pel work, you want to actually apply your mind to it and use the Pel as some kind of situational training beyond just some mechanical repetition, which is also important. But once you get through that basic level, actually thinking about the how and the why and the when you would do these things is really important. That's it really for this change play. Next week we're going to get into the break window, which is the last set of fighting from the postures in the first part of Meyer's longsword book. So just remember, upward slash, cut, inside flat. Play with that, think about why you're doing it, see if you can apply these tactical lessons in other ways, and we'll get into the break window next week.